Hi, I'm Chris Wardlaw for CarGurus, and this is the 2017 Mercedes-Benz GLC-Class. This compact crossover SUV debuted just last year, replacing the GLK-Class in the Mercedes lineup. It's based on the same platform as the C-Class models. It features a nearly identical interior design theme, and it shares its drivetrains with those popular car models. So yeah, you could think of it as a C-Class station wagon, but lifted for extra ground clearance. This was my first time driving the GLC-Class. I'd heard good things about it from people whose opinions I trust, and I looked forward to spending some quality time with it. Let's go for a drive, and I'll tell you what I think of the GLC. Now for this test, I requested a GLC 300 because that's the version that most people buy. Unfortunately, a last-minute change in the schedule meant I was going to be driving the AMG GLC 43, which is the performance-tuned model, and it's basically got more of everything. Now, personally, I don't have any problem at all with that change, but the price tag is higher by almost $14,000, and that brings it to a hair below 55 grand. So, what do you get for that extra cash? Well, for starters, you've got a bi-turbo 3-liter V6 engine. It's making 362 horsepower, and that scoots this SUV to 60 miles an hour in a reported 4.8 seconds. You also get an AMG-tuned transmission, all-wheel drive system, exhaust system, and adaptive air suspension. Performance brakes are standard. Now on top of that, my test car is fitted with the optional 21-inch wheels wrapped in super wide staggered width summer performance tires. Now additionally, this version of the GLC has a unique calibration for the dynamic select system, which allows the driver to choose between Eco, Comfort, Sport, Sport Plus, and there's an individual setting that you can program to your personal preferences. AMG styling details are also standard on this car, inside and out, and this version gets a standard blind spot warning system along with a handful of additional upgrades that include things like heated seats, passive keyless entry, and an iPod media interface. Now naturally, my test car is very nicely equipped. The price tag? $68,145. But it still doesn't have a sunroof or a heads-up display or ventilated front seats or heated rear seats or heated steering wheel. And if I added all of those things to this test vehicle, the price would reach nearly 72 grand. So the question naturally then is the price worth the performance? And what I'll tell you is that if you love to drive and you exercise your vehicle on a regular basis, you need the extra ground clearance that's combined with the practicality and utility inherent in a crossover SUV, then I would say yes. Otherwise, my bet is that you're going to be happier with the GLC 300. Now, why is that? Well, aside from paying so much extra for hardware you have no intention of using, the road noise from the oversized wheels and tires is sometimes deafening depending on the paved surface. Also, in urban areas, the bigger brakes tend to feel a little bit grabbier, which means it's a lot harder to bring this SUV to a smooth, jostle-free stop. And plus, I had a really hard time finding a dynamic select mode that was fully satisfying. So in comfort mode, it's just too relaxed around town. And you know, if you zip around a corner and then you stab the gas, it takes a moment or two for the powertrain to actually respond to your input. In the same environment though, if you use sport mode, it's just too aggressive and it makes it really hard to drive the GLC smoothly. And Sport Plus mode is just obnoxious whenever you're in a heavily populated area. Now, no matter where I was driving, I did want the suspension set to Sport Plus at all times in order to eliminate unwanted body motion and indecisiveness from the adaptive air suspension. Now, even when I was using the individual setting, I wasn't entirely satisfied with how the GLC was calibrated unless I was driving on the freeway. Plus, every time I got back behind the wheel, it reset itself from individual mode to comfort mode, and that defeated the purpose of using it in the first place. The one dynamic aspect of the GLC 43 that was perfectly flawless all the time was this variable ratio direct steer steering system. It is phenomenal, and it's one of the most delightful things about driving this version of the GLC. Now, where this performance-tuned GLC was absolutely symphonic in terms of its performance was on my favorite mountain roads set to Sport Plus mode. It was brilliant, which makes perfect sense given that it's built specifically for that kind of driving. So, what's the moral of this story? Unless you're planning to drive fast and hard on a regular basis, I would pass on this version of the GLC and spend all that extra money that you save on upgrades to the GLC 300. Now, Mercedes gets the GLC's cabin exactly right, especially with this lovely saddle brown leather and natural grain black ash wood trim. The combination provides a high contrast background for the cabin's jewelry and detailing, and as a result, the interior looks and feels special, like a luxury model ought to. Now up front, the seats offer 14-way power adjustment, heating and available cooling, and it's easy to find a perfect driving position. They're comfortable too, but for people who are sized like me, the fit is rather snug. Snug also describes the rear seats. With the driver's seat set to my personal preferences, rear seat, knee, and foot space was fine, but shin space was lacking. Now back there's a 12-volt power outlet and a 115-volt power outlet, but there aren't any USB charging ports back there, which is a little odd for such a new design. Now if you pop the hatch, you're going to reveal 19.4 cubic feet of cargo space, and I don't really know exactly how Mercedes is measuring that because it sure seems larger than that to me. Now if you fold the rear seats down, the GLC supplies 56.5 cubic feet of cargo space, and to my eye that looks and sounds about right. Now to say the least, Mercedes takes an unconventional approach to its control layout. If you've never owned a Benz before, there is going to be a steep learning curve. Check out the command control knob and handwriting recognition pad on the center console, for instance, surrounded by various buttons and dials for doing various things. Or check out how many stalks are on the left side of the steering column. Check out the transmission gear selector and how it works. Check out the power seat adjustments. You see what I mean? Now, once you've got everything set up the way you want it, and you've logged several hundred miles behind the wheel, most of this becomes intuitive, but not all of it. And when you can't remember how to find or access something, the potential for distraction is significant. Just hit this star button on the center control pod, and you get this handy menu on the screen that helps you to find whatever you're looking for. Now, my test vehicle also had the optional Burmeister premium surround sound system, which does an amazing job with bass-heavy music. I did have a harder time dialing in some of the modern rock that I tend to prefer. The GLC also came with a full slate of driver assistance and collision avoidance technologies, and they all worked pretty well during testing, although on one occasion I ended up blinding a driver who was waiting on a side street to enter the road I was on, and he was looking up towards me and the high beams popped on basically right into his face. As far as crash tests are concerned, neither the federal government or the IHS has performed any crash testing on the GLC. The more time I spent with the Mercedes-Benz GLC, the more I liked it. As you get acclimated to the control layout and get all the features and functions set up to your liking and understand how all the onboard technology works, the GLC becomes more satisfying to drive. Additionally, this specific version of the SUV, the AMG GLC 43, looks terrific inside and out, and it's a real thrill ride under the right conditions. However, the performance-tuned AMG hardware likely represents overkill for most people. My bet is that you're not going to want this version unless you're planning to spend the majority of your time behind the wheel, going fast and having fun. Be sure to check out my full review of the GLC-Class on CarGurus.com, and if you found this review helpful, please share this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. For all of us at CarGurus, thank you for watching.